Broadcasting across Australia on Dare Media Group radio stations, this is the Sportcat Show, uncovering secret chapters, strange encounters,
and the occasional technical mishap.
Always a technical mishap. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Sportcat Show, formerly known as the Paranormal Guys. We are live on Radio X in Australia and Dare Talk, actually Radio X Country and Dare Talk Radio in Australia. Good morning to you. I understand it's like noon, 11, 12 over there. So good morning to you. Encourage you. Come over and join the chat. We always have a lively chat over here under the Sportcat shows. And there's Chris. He's one of my loyals in here. And Brenda's in here. Let me bring out my co-host. Hello there. And there's my beautiful co-host. So how are you, Jen?
I am doing well.
Good. Well, let's we have a couple great authors tonight. The first one, he hails from the part of the world I'm in, from, if that made any sense, East Tennessee. So let's bring Joe out here. He has got a colorful past to talk about. Hey, Joe. How are you?
Great. How are you?
Doing well, sir. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I was born and raised in Mingo County, West Virginia, where the Hatfield McCoy feud took place. And then in 1987, I moved to Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, and started robbing trains for a living at Dollywood. And then I've always been interested in writing and written a lot of stuff. And once I retired, I decided I was going to publish some novels. And that's what I've been up to lately.
I have to ask, what is Dollywood? I've heard of Hollywood and Bollywood. Oh, it's a theme park.
Yeah,
okay.
Hollywood's it's like the redneck version of Disney.
Gotcha.
It's good description. Yeah. So what brought you to Dollywood out of all places in the world?
Well, when I was a kid, I used to go there when we went on vacation, and I loved it. So back then it was called Silver Dollar City. Correct. And when I wanted to move somewhere, I thought, well, if I want to go somewhere, I'm going to go there. And I really didn't know what I was going to do. And I got into town, and I said, I just got here, so I'm going to go to the Dixie Stampede. I'd never been there. And I said, I'm going to go there and have one night of fun, and then I'll go looking for a job. And they seated me next to a gentleman. And it just so happened he was one of the gunsmiths at Dollywood. And he said, hey, the guy that teaches people how to throw tomahawks, knives, and spears is looking for somebody. And I have a martial arts background. I've studied martial arts since I was 5. And I've worked with a lot of weapons. And I went over there and went to work the next day. And 30 years later, I retired.
I'm smiling at the whole martial arts background. So what did you do? Because I did karate for many years.
Oh, wow. Well, I have black belts in the four systems, but mainly in Okinawan Shorin-ryu, Korean Taekwondo, and a system called Kyokuto Kakai Bujitsu, which is a fancy way of saying Far Eastern Federation of Fighting Arts.
Gotcha. I did Shorin-ryu.
I studied a little bit of everything. Yeah. I love Shorin-ryu. That was the first one that I started and just fell in love with it. But I'm coming from a small town in West Virginia, people didn't stay long. They'd move on. So you get started in one system and somebody else would move in and you move to something else. And so it really was good for me in a lot of ways.
I found it to be very therapeutic. I was the oldest of 5 kids, so I started it thinking, I gotta have some way to keep my brothers in line. But I found it very therapeutic, just like running.
Yes. It is. And when I first started, I was thin and sickly a lot as a kid, and I got picked on a lot. And so I thought, I'm going to learn karate and I'm going to beat people up so they'll leave me alone. But luckily, I had a good instructor that taught me that that's not what it's about.
Yes.
And I just fell in love with the discipline. And it actually, I became an instructor myself. And at one time, all I did was teach. And it's great for children. I've taught kids that had attention disorders and that were very hyper and it was really, it gave them a focus, and it helped them calm themselves.
Apparently, I blew Chris's mind here. He's not like another thing we've learned about me.
My co-host.
Yeah, many layers.
Exactly. She's like an onion. So she will hop out of her Prius and whoop your ass. So
with my airsoft gun.
Your airsoft. So, oh, Lord. So also a part of your background, I was reading you're a descendant of the lineage of the Hatfields and the McCoys. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely. If most people don't know about it, it's a famous feud that took place in southern West Virginia between the Hatfield clan and the McCoy clan. And Devil Anse Hatfield was the leader of the Hatfield clan. He's also my great uncle. And then there was a gentleman by the name of Tom Mitchell who was with the Hatfield clan. And he's the one that set fire to Randall McCoy's cabin on Christmas Eve. And he was my great grandfather. And so that's my tie. And then on my dad's side of the family, they all came from Budapest, Hungary. That's how I came up with Blood Feud. It's actually hillbilly vampires. You've got the Hatfields McCoy still feuding and fighting, and they don't die. And so it's a different take on it. There's a lot of humor, a lot of action. Of course, the main character uses martial arts, of course, because of my background. And we've changed up the vampire lore a little bit to make it a little different. But I love it. And I'm just about finished with the third book now.
Wow.
I love that you could throw humor in there, because you know if it's too serious, then it's just not fun.
Yeah, you're gonna have some relief every now and then. Absolutely.
Well, a lot of the old tropes, what did you throw out of them? Because I mean, I guess it could be kind of dry too.
Yeah. Well, I'm just basically, when I write, I don't plot. I'm a pantser, and I get a basic idea and I start writing, and it's like a movie that plays in my head. I don't know where the end's going to be. Okay. And I'm having just as much fun writing it as hopefully the readers are reading it. And it goes till I finish my story in my head. And
do you ever just let it just write itself and just like following it along for the ride? I always say that sometimes I'll either go one of two places, where I'll go to like, wow, that's amazing, that came out of my head, or I'm, what is wrong with me?
Yeah.
And then you rewind, and then you yeah, exactly. It's like, where did that come from? Like the darker side that I didn't know about. I should be writing horror.
Everybody always talks. They said, you're such a gentle person, but you do like all this martial arts and you write all this gory stuff. And but now my books are clean. There's violence and gore, but that's it. There's no language or sexual situations, but there is romance. But they are clean. My mother would have killed me if I did anything other than that. And so that's I respect that.
So how do you make it? How do you translate it to modern day Hatfield and McCoy and vampire families? Is it the same principle? Two dueling families?
Well, yeah, but they're working together with the master vampire to go after one person, and that's the main character. The premise of the story is his father was a very wealthy, well-to-do man, and always wanted to get the next deal done. And this takes place in 1965. And so he's gone on a business trip, and he's overseas, and he gets a telegram that says that his mother has unexpectedly passed away. So he rushes back home. And before he can get home, his father, has her cremated and buried. And it's very upsetting to him because he didn't get any closure, and he really didn't know a lot about her past. So he got to looking around. He thought maybe she left a diary that might give me some answers. So he finds a diary, and it's giving him some answers, but it's also giving him more questions. And he thinks, well, there's got to be more diaries. So he goes up in the attic and starts looking, and he finds a box full of diaries. The problem is they're all in the same handwriting, and the same name of the author of the diaries, but it dates back to 1863. And so that takes him to West Virginia. That's how he learns about his connection with the Hatfields.
Interesting.
That I was just thinking, it's like, that's a long feud to have for that many years.
Yes.
You'd think they would have like sorted it out or something. Maybe they don't even remember what they're fighting about anymore.
Right. But like I say, they're working kind of together, but they don't get along really well. So they don't mesh as well as they need to, and that's the one advantage that the main character has. He works that against him.
Interesting.
You said it was like a movie playing out in your head. Can you actually hear different voices for each character?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's really crazy because I can see him, I can hear him, and I may need therapy. I don't know, but it is you. It's just
you and me both.
I can't explain it.
And you can jump into different ones' heads.
Yeah, if you've ever had a very vivid dream that you hear everything, you see everything, it's the same for me when I write.
Okay. No, you're not crazy. Many authors have said that. It just fascinates me. I don't have that creativity, and I just find it so amazing that you can do that, and so easily, because you make it seem easy. You're like, oh, I just start and I just go. How long does it take you to finish one book?
Well, if I'm not super busy with other projects, I can do one in usually a couple 3 months.
Okay. And you're on number 3 is the one you're editing and getting out now.
Yes. Now this one took a little bit longer because in the middle of writing it, I got very ill, and then I had a torn shoulder that had to have surgery, and then my mom got very sick, and she ended up passing away in October of last year. And she was my inspiration for writing. She wrote poetry and stories and things, and she's the one that encouraged me and told me I needed to do it. And it was hard for me to get back into it, but now I'm excited to get it done, and I'm okay now, so I'm back at it.
So is the third one the last one, or are there going to be more books in the series?
Well, it's supposed to have been the last one, but everybody wants more. So I'm going to write a prequel for 1863 to 1965, when it all started, the beginning of the vampires.
So in the last,
where it goes from there.
In this last one, are you modern day? Have you went from 65 to now?
No, this all takes place in just a matter of a few months. It's all in 1965. But now the first book, they're in West Virginia and Kentucky, fighting it out with the Hatfields and McCoys. Then the master vampire leaves and goes to Budapest, Hungary. So the second book takes place in Budapest, Hungary, and there's demons that he has to fight, and he literally saves his love interest in the first book, and he takes her with him. And there's a lot of little surprises and cliffhangers and things like that in it. But he over there, he runs into some priests that help him, and a sleazy con man that's supposed to be a tour guide and taking him places. But when he needs something, he takes him to his cousins to buy old beat up cars or weapons and stuff like that. So it's a different story. So there's, like I say, I like to put a lot of humor in with the action and things like that.
It sounds like you write like based off of your life, your history, and your ancestors and your family's legacies and stuff. How much of your personality do you put into your characters?
There's quite a bit of it, because I'm a comedian as well. I'm just a natural born goof. I love to make people laugh. I did a comedy magic show for several years at Dollywood. And so I've just always been a very humorous guy. I like to have fun. And so I write that way too. Now I can be very serious, and some of my next books, my upcoming projects are going to be much darker, without that much humor. One of the projects is called Bad Bones. And then there's another project. I got approached by Stephanie James Publishing, and they started a thing. It's kind of like a choose your own adventure book, but what they do is an author writes a book, and then she gets another author to take a part of that book out of that book and write a completely different story using some of the same characters.
So like
And
pull a chapter out or pull a scene out,
yeah, you
or
can
what?
or you can just pull out a character or two and make a completely different story.
Oh,
And
interesting.
yeah, I'd never heard of that before. And she saw me on a TikTok podcast, and she approached me and asked me if I would do one. So that's going to be coming up probably next. And I'm excited to do it, but it's going to be more. It's going to be a little darker.
So you'll have to start with a chapter from somebody else's book, or are you starting the whole like what's the right word, theme?
Right.
I don't know what the right word is.
Well, this particular book, there's a scene in the middle of the story, and it's about a missing girl, and it really doesn't really. It's not a big part of that particular book, but I'm going to take it other places with that disappearance and the sheriff that's on the case.
Yeah. What kind of drew you to writing in this genre?
I grew up watching the old classic Frankenstein, Wolfman, Dracula. I love horror movies. I would watch just about every horror movie that comes out, and they just fascinate me. I love them. And of course, Mom always thought I was pretty sick in the head, but I've always loved it. And I thought that's what I'd like to write. Now I write some poetry and inspirational stuff as well, but I really love to write horror. And I wrote a true humor book. The first book I wrote was a true humor book called "Bet You Can't Stick a Fork in My Eye" and other stupid things I've said and done. And yeah, and well, here I'll show you. I got it right here. So that's me on the cover, and so it's all. I'm the most accident-prone person in the world.
No, I think I got
they're
you
not
beat.
I don't know. I mean, mine aren't just. Mine are crazy. I've been hit by multiple cars. I've been set on fire.
Oh,
3
maybe you
times.
just have bad luck.
By myself. And I mean, just a lot of funny stuff that I just get myself into, and that's what that one's about. That was the first thing. I just wanted to do something short and fun, and then get into the novels.
Nice. I think it sounds like you've had a really interesting life and maybe some bad luck.
Yeah, I mean, and my mom had real bad degenerative disc disease, and of course, me and her were so much alike. I have it too. So I've had so many surgeries. I've got more metal and bolts in me than I have bones and flesh. But
you're like this close to becoming a superhero, right?
Yeah. I mean, my neck's held up by 2 steel rods. This is all put together with nuts and bolts, but I could sit there and feel sorry for myself, and yeah, it hurts sometimes, but I enjoy life too much to let that get me down.
I love that attitude.
I love, like, I always say, and you guys have heard me say it before, is like, you can either laugh or you can cry, and laughing makes fewer wrinkles, so it doesn't look quite as ugly.
Yeah. So. Well, I can't help the ugly, but maybe I don't have quite as many wrinkles as I normally would.
So you sound like you've met many paramedics too with this.
Oh yeah. This just happened recently, and my blood pressure went out of control, but not to the high level. It bottomed out. Okay. And they called an ambulance, brought it to the house. Now I have a steep driveway. The ambulance pulled in. They loaded me in the ambulance. They started up the hill. It blew the transmission out of the ambulance. So I was laying in the back of a broken down ambulance for 45 minutes so they could get another one there. And then they had to push me up the hill because they didn't want him to tear his truck up. I told them, I said, y'all are going to need paramedics by pushing me up this hill. But
are you sure it's metal that they put into your back?
I'm not sure of anything.
Well, I've worked in rural EMS. I worked in Granger County, so I understand.
Oh yeah, I'm very familiar with Granger County.
Yep. So, and I part-timed in Jefferson, so yeah, I understand how rural EMS is. Yeah. So, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do. So,
yes, sir.
It's just part of being human. So things happen.
Oh yeah.
I mean, if you stress about all the things you can't control, you'll be stressing your whole life away.
Oh yeah, I used to get angry at the drop of a hat, and then when I got really serious in martial arts and everything, it taught me how to, it's not worth it. It's just remain calm, and anger doesn't change anything except it's bad for you.
Mm-hmm.
So
it gives you
I
indigestion.
just don't do that. Yeah.
Blood pressure up instead of down. Chris says,
that's what he did.
Multiple cars is getting myself into funny stuff, has wonderful optimism this world needs more of. That's true. So
there's some stories in there most people wouldn't believe, but they were all absolutely true.
It's great. And I have this sneaking suspicion while you were at 45 minutes in the ambulance, you were making them laugh, even they were probably very stressed.
Yeah. I mean, I was this close to just going out. My heart rate was like 43, and my blood pressure was like 50 or like 60 over, I think 45 or something like that. But I just said, well, if I'm gonna go make people laugh. So. They said, I've never seen anybody like you. You're just awful calm. You're pretty sick. I said, well, I'm stuck. Might as well have fun.
Not much you can do about it.
No. If I'm going, I'm going.
There's a lot of, exactly. There's a lot of stories that are done about vampires and werewolves and all these other monsters and stuff. Mm-hmm. What do you think it is about monsters and that kind of intrigues us and keeps, pulling us in?
Well, it's like there's a lot of cryptids out there, and all myths and legends are based on some kind of factual information. Mm-hmm. And I think we have this fascination with the unknown, and especially when it's the scary part of unknown, and people they get drawn to it. Now, everybody don't, but a good many people do, and I just always loved it. I love the paranormal. I've had some pretty good experiences with some things, and it's crazy. It's like I'm a magnet for that kind of stuff.
I bet you do have some stories.
Did you say you researched it, but do you believe in vampires? I mean, they go back way back to...
Yeah, they go way back, and not just in places like Romania and Hungary and places like that, but even in Scotland and Ireland, way back in the early 1500s. As a matter of fact, it was over, I think, in Scotland, one of the very first accounts of a vampire was recorded there. It was recorded at the earliest that they've been able to find so far. But there's always some kind of truth to some of it, and some of the things that they did back then, once they buried those people, was gruesome. I mean, It was unbelievable. But it's a fascinating thing. I like to research stuff like that, UFOs, Bigfoot. I love all that stuff.
I always think, we always, part of us likes to be scared. It's like the kids that turn the lights off and then scream and they turn it back on. They can control that, but I think we all just kind of like being scared. I mean, that's why horror exists.
Yeah, I think you're right. Absolutely.
It's a little fear of the unknown that you just never know, and sometimes in the South, even further south, you will find graves with like cages over them. And that goes back to they thought they were going to come up.
Yes, they would plant hawthorn and stuff over the graves because that was supposed to keep them in the ground. They would put sickles across their neck and stick it in the ground so they couldn't rise. And sometimes they would behead them and put their head between their legs so they couldn't figure out where to go, or they would bury them upside down so they would go down instead of up.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah, I've heard where they put like boulders on their feet.
Yeah, absolutely. It's crazy. But fear makes people do some irrational things. But we like being scared, but sometimes it makes us kind of irrational. And
It
especially
does.
when we're more accustomed because we've been exposed to more things like that these days. But if you can imagine back in, even the 1800s to 1700s, that was all very new to them and very, very creepy.
Yeah.
And they didn't have the experiences that we are used to, that we grew up with.
Well, they didn't have the science too that's trying to disprove everything, and there's still things that it can't disprove, which is amazing, and I love that.
Oh, I do too.
Our science is trying to make monsters now. So
yeah. I always so I lived out on an acreage, and we were surrounded by trees, and I remember my mom saying this, and I would go out walking, and I was thinking the same thing as well, is she was never scared of the animals or monsters, and I wasn't either. But when I was going out walking in the woods, and I was like, I'm more scared of people than I am of monsters. Yeah. And do you think we kind of relate to those monsters? Do you think that's why?
Yeah, I think, deep down, sometimes we think that they're not, we want them to be real, but we're really not that sure of it. So there's a little bit of a cushion there, but people are capable of anything, and we've got proof of that.
Yes, just look at some of the medieval devices that they've made.
Oh yes.
Do you put any of the Appalachian lore in there, like don't whistle in the woods at night and stuff like that? You know what I'm talking about, I'm sure. So
yeah, I do. I know what you're talking about. If somebody calls your name, don't answer back and things like that. Yeah. I didn't put anything in there yet, but that's coming in book 3.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
And I was thinking about this when you were saying you put a lot of the South in it, pretty much. I know this is going to sound like a really stupid question, but football is big in the South. You live in Tennessee, you know that. Did you put any high school football or anything like that in there?
Not in the Blood Feud books, no, but there's about the only thing that's in those books is the main character talks about martial arts a lot, and how he loved his training, and he still trains, especially when he's getting ready to do battle with the vampires and stuff.
I was going to ask, your vampires, I'm assuming, do they sparkle?
No, they do not sparkle.
Okay.
No, hillbillies don't sparkle. And it's different. They can come out during the daytime. That's not a problem, but they're very weak. They can't do the damage that they can at night. They get much stronger. And there's different ways. I researched different chemicals and ways that might possibly be able to kill a vampire. And one of the things I used is iron powder. Now, iron powder is also used in moisture absorbing packaging that they put in foods and stuff, and in oxygen absorbers. Okay. So he created some weapons that he could thrust into the vampires that would break, and it would release that powder, and it basically dried their blood out, so they instantly died. And these vampires, you can stab them and cut them, and unless they bleed out, they don't die. And if they can feed, they heal. And so, and it doesn't have to be a human. They can pick up a rat, a snake, anything they can get blood from, and it creates a healing mechanism. It triggers that. But
what about sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, what about blood alternatives? Like, what if there's like vegetarian vampires? Sorry.
Wow, I never thought about that. That's interesting. You might give me a new idea. I had never thought about that.
Do they have, I guess,
I want to write a book about that.
Who says I haven't?
Since it goes for so long, is in your storyline, are there newer vampires that have been, I guess, born? created?
Yes, yes, yeah. I mean, you got the older ones from the feud, but you got a lot of new people, and you can't really tell because they can walk around in the daytime. So it's like, if you only see somebody at night and never any other time, you're like, well, why don't I ever see them during the day, especially when there's vampire activity? But these people, they can basically camouflage themselves by just walking around during the day and acting normal.
Do they
And the
need
next thing you know,
sunscreen?
no,
Okay.
no, no, the sun does not affect them as far as hurting their bodies or their skins. It just weakens them.
Ah, okay.
And but it works the same way. Like at night, he had and I had to go to the period of the 60s, and there used to be these magic flash cubes that you'd stick on your camera. It had 4 flashes on it, and he carried one of those with him. So if he was fighting one in the dark, he would flash that camera, and it blinded them, and it bothered them. So it gave him a quick second to get in an attack and try to get the upper hand. So I'm
Oh,
trying to use some
interesting.
different ways to fight him and kill him and things like that.
So why are they after him? Is it just he's different, or some secrets, or I don't want
Well,
to go into spoilers in your story, but
no,
I'm
right.
curious.
No, the master vampire wants him dead, and they're doing his bidding. As a matter of fact, there's one character that befriends him because he and he was one of the old ones, and he was very upset that they did that to him, and he was a very reluctant follower. He really couldn't fight the power of the master vampire, but he didn't like it, and he wanted out of it, and so they meet up, and when they meet up, it's a fight because he thinks that the main character is someone else that is a vampire, and then he finds out, oh, it's not, and so they become friends, and he starts helping him. He gives him information of things, where they're staying, how to hurt them, and who is vampires. Watch those people, and so he's kind of an inside guy.
Are there other cryptids in there as well?
Not cryptids. There's demons and ghosts.
Okay.
Interesting.
There's some of that, but I haven't put any cryptids in this one. But that's going to be in some of my next books because I definitely want to do that.
You sound like you got a lot in your head.
Oh yeah, I've got. Like I say, I don't plot or anything, but I'll write an idea on a piece of paper, and I've got a book almost full of that. The one that I'm going to work on pretty soon, called Bad Bones, I came up with that one, and that's why I say maybe I am sick in the head. This detective is chasing after a serial killer, and he's in a hot pursuit in a vehicle, and he decides to ram the guy to keep him from getting away, but they both crash. Well, the detective loses consciousness. He wakes up in the hospital, and they explain to him that he was very badly injured, and they had to do surgery on his back, and they had to replace some of his vertebrae with cadaver bones, with donor bones. And shortly after he's out of the hospital release, he starts having these weird dreams about killings, and he finally finds out that the bones they put in his back was the serial killers who was killed in the accident when it happened. So he is slowly being taken over by the serial killer.
I've heard stories about that, not fictional stories. I've heard people's accounts.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So what do you think, the fact that you chose this genre, that you write in these darker genres and stuff, what do you think the writing tells you about yourself?
Wow, it tells me that I got to be real careful. I don't want to actually. I have to admit, part of me is in the main character, but he's also very different.
Yeah,
and he has some big challenges. The more he goes up against these vampires.
Do you ever get people that ask you to write them as a villain?
Oh yeah, Yeah, I've got an author friend, and she's the sweetest, quietest person you'd ever meet. And she said, I want to be a bad guy because everybody always thinks I'm so nice. I want to be bad. And then I said, okay. And she said, and kill me. I said, okay. I guess I can do that.
Decide how she's off.
No. She just said, make it bad, make it real bad.
Ooh.
I was like, oh wow.
Yeah. Don't want to give an author free reign like that. Then we can be just as creative as some of those medieval torturers.
Yes.
Yeah. Don't look at your all's Google search engine history.
Yeah. Somebody might think I'm into the occult,
Oh yeah. The FBI's probably got a man on me all the time.
Oh no, all you have to do is say I'm an author, and they'll okay. You've been injured. You've been like researching where to shoot people, and you still survive. That's okay. You're an author.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're all an artist.
Yes.
Well, yeah. So you started comedy, then you were in horror. Have you ever thought about any other genres besides for those two? Like, I don't know, Westerns or something else?
Yeah, I would love to write a Western. I grew up, my grandpa loved Louis L'Amour, the old paperbacks. So I'd read them as well. And I love Westerns. I love to watch Western movies. And I would love to do a Western. And I probably will at some point. But right now, I've got to finish these. Everybody's got these ideas that they want me to create for them for books. And
do the assassination. So yeah. And
apex predator for whatever it is hunting. So the dogmen decided, hey, we're going to start going down south so we have more food to hunt because there's not as many Bigfoot in the south as there is in the north.
It's true. Send them to Florida. They can eat all the pythons. They can compete with skunk ape down there.
Skunk ape. Oh my goodness. I got to travel. I seriously.
Wow.
No, I
part of the Bigfoot, basically.
I've heard of the Bigfoot. We have not Nessie, but we have like Little Nessie or something. The lesser Slave Lake monster.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there's things up in Athabasca. I'm in Alberta, so I'm kind of in my own little world.
Alberta, Canada?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, very nice. Very nice. I've been to Canada once. I went to Ontario, Canada for the Niagara view.
Yeah,
my mom actually booked the hotel on the other side, and she was saying, we're not going back on our hotel reservation. So we ended up going over the border, and they accepted us and let us go through.
I've been to the Niagara Falls once, but a lot of people go to Ontario because it's the center of the universe, apparently, because Toronto's there. So Canada, that's what people know of is Ontario. So yeah, but I'm on the other end of the country, far, far, far west.
Ah, okay.
Yeah,
the snowy side.
Closer to Vancouver than I am to Toronto.
Okay, so if I was to compare the distance between from Ontario being Ohio, it'd probably be down in California within distance, complete opposite side.
I think immediately south of us is Idaho.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you guys are not exactly on the other side, but complete opposite direction.
I'm in Atlanta, so.
I know where that is.
Everybody knows where Atlanta is. Well, it's funny. You have these cryptids, and it's almost like every little community has some. Some are bigger, like Mothman in Ohio, and then there's the big Bigfoot in the Sierras. And it's like some are more known, but even in the small neighborhoods, but the smaller areas, there's the folklore.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I love folklore. I study it. I have all kinds of books back there on my shelf that go over a lot of folklore and a lot of magic and all kinds of other things.
And that's what
I study. I am a folklorist.
And that was one of the things I wanted to ask you, because in your book, you start naming some of these, I guess, creatures is the best way. And I'm like, okay, I've never heard of that one. Got to Google that. How the heck did you come up with all these?
Research. I did a lot of my research and I decided what I wanted to keep, what I didn't want to keep. A lot of common things you'll find with people who actually do study their folklore is you can go to multiple sites and sometimes you'll have different, but for the people who do their research, you can most often find common factors, errors with most of the time. Unfortunately, they stay within a linear path. I write somewhat in a more linear path, straight line. I don't have too many characters that just go right off the road with something else entirely. Sometimes I see things within the future that I need to write, like with an upcoming chapter of one of my books. They kind of went right off the road, but I'm able to catch up with that within the next chapter. For very
I have a program because sometimes I get ideas for scenes. And I think that's what Glenn was kind of alluding to, is I get ideas for scenes for books that I haven't written yet.
I try not to wait.
Main event, like this is the main detail that I need to put in here. Everything else can fill it.
Monster within the book.
His wife, because she could control fire as a firefighter.
The pyro.
Yeah. Yes,
all right.
Yes. And that's why I told you, I messaged you like, I don't know, like halfway through, and I'm like, please do not kill her. Then you killed her. So
and I actually made that. I'm sorry about that. I know I actually made that death more heartbreaking because I actually brought her back, but it wasn't her.
Yeah. She was possessed by a demon. Yeah. It was pretty rough when I figured. So
it's always heartbreaking when you like, because I mean, as authors, we mourn for these characters that we're killing off too. Like, why? It's us going, why did it have to happen? We couldn't avoid it.
With me, I'm not going to have a further use for, and that's how I determine which ones I'm going to kill off and which ones I'm going to let live. Now, they can get complete death for me, at least within the world, as I like to call it. That's my whole brand. It's the world that all. Yes, my short stories and I Am a Werewolf Hunter do take place in the same world. But it's not an absolute. There is always ways of resurrection. And the only time that there is absolute death, and that is usually when both the body and the soul are destroyed. And then that's when you cease to exist. Sunrise, Sportcat.
No, I did not. I'm so pressed for time doing 2 shows, some stuff in East Tennessee right now. I'm so pressed for time. I barely can tell you the time. So, Mrs. Sportcat asked me if I'm ever going to come out of the hole in here. No, probably not.
I actually tried twice writing that one. That's what my years within a certain point. That it only worse.
When I was reading, I was going to talk about her, and the devil brought her back. He didn't tell Jake that as a lower demon. Then I was really impressed with, and I was going to ask you, there was a specific way that you used to summon the devil. What I didn't understand that. It was something about cutting a line or drawing a line. I didn't understand that part.
Sigils. Sigils are magic symbols believed to be able to do many things. Some people can summon fireballs with sigils. Some people can summon demons with sigils. But the sigil is kind of like for Resinif. That's actually his name. And it's actually finisher spelt backwards. That's how I actually came up with the name. But
I like that.
For Resinif, the sigil is a calling card. And that's a little bit of what the picture is. It's an axe cutting a string.
Ah, okay. Makes better sense now, because I was like, what? He's pulling a string. What? I don't get this. And then boom, he appears. And he says, well, I've been called before to worse things. Okay.
Yeah.
I can't imagine a devil saying, yeah, been called to worse things. So, yeah. And then you took a turn I was not expecting at all. You got into Greek mythology at the end. I was like, wow, how did we get here?
All the gods within my world exist. They all had their hand in creating the world. Fun fact, if you ever get into a lot of deep lore, and then you look at our Earth, all right? If you look at the continents and you try and frame them in a different way, you could actually make them look like a skull. And that actually also comes back from Norse legend, where they actually killed the giant known as Ymir by cutting off his head entirely. And his skull may have been destroyed by Thor. I don't know exactly what happened with his skull, but I'm sure his skull could have been fractured into pieces, and then the water that would be his blood would actually had surfaced around and gravitate within the gravitational pool and actually help hold all of it in place. So we're just pretty much living on a giant's skull.
I wonder if that's where the whole giant turtle kind of fits along with that, where it's a beast or a part of a beast or something, because that seems to be a repeating mythology.
Okay. Also, our atmosphere, the Hebrew people, the people who wrote the Bible, were very aware of it. And if you ever get a chance to look into older scripts, especially mostly into St. Joseph, because you won't see it into King James or the new translations. But if you look within the King James, not my bad, let me get a hold of myself here. If you ever look into St. Joseph's edition, and they have a lot of the reference pictures and materials, if you ever look at their drawing for the floodgates, you'll actually see that the floodgates kind of look like where our atmosphere is. I could actually, right now, if you want me to, I can go grab my Bible and show you what I'm talking about in the picture.
No, you're good. Brenda just fell out of her wheelchair, I'm sure, because she believes a lot of this stuff. She's a flat earther too. And I'm like, I don't understand it. And we don't have, we're living in the water. The water is the air. I don't know. There's something. So you'd have to talk to her. She knows about all that. So she's that person.
Set something up on the Daily Gazette if she really wants to speak to me about it.
Oh yeah, well I'm sure we'll talk about the show tomorrow. So we always do. So yeah, I make fun of her about a lot of it, but then I end up going, damn it, some of this is real.
I believe a lot of things are real. In fact, even some of the deities, if you go back to Mayan cultures, they have the deadly god of bats, Kamazots. Darn it, cat.
Got dizzy there for a second.
Wait a minute. One of the demons got him. It's funny. I was just talking to a person that's very religious. Oh, so cute. And I made the comment. I was like, well, it's not that I don't believe in a higher power, but even any of the editions I've read, there's always one word that intrigues me when they talk about God. And when he's talking about himself, he uses it plural, gods. And that's always kind of been in the back of my head. And then, of course, this is a really stupid comparison, but in the movie Transformers, when they've got the Optimus Prime and all the Autobots inside this big government warehouse, and the one guy turns to his sergeant and he goes, if you believe in what created us, what created them? And I always thought about that as a really good comparison, because it does say plural. It says gods when he's talking about himself.
Well, if you really want me to go into this, I can really go into some deep stuff about that. But I won't be able to take back what I said, and it will definitely be on the live air right now.
Yeah. So, yeah, you don't want to put yourself too far out there. So,
oh no, I'm okay to say it. It's just who all will be okay with hearing it.
Well, they'll at me, so don't worry about it.
Okay. So, if you ever look, you go over to the 10 Commandments, and they always say, "You shall worship no other god but me." He also says in times that he is a jealous God, that his name is actually jealousy. Now, if there are no other gods, who is there to be jealous of, if you think about it?
Yeah.
Also, he forbids the speaking of any other gods by name, because names are an invocation within the deities.
Yep. Yeah.
If you their name, summon them. Now there's some weaker ones like Resinif, who is not really a god, and you have to use a sigil as his invocation. But that's one thing about him that's different from other deities. There's all kinds of ways to summon these things. What you do once you summon them is the big question.
Well, sending them back is the hard part. And that's I've had guests on the show. We've talked about this. They talk about Ouija boards. And that's one of the things they all say is you got to know how to close whatever door you open.
Yes.
Yep.
Because you'd be surprised how many people don't. And, and well, I'll give you an example. We go out and we used to, when I first started, I was like, we're going to go hunt Bigfoot. When I say hunt, I don't mean like we're going to shoot him and kill him. So anybody don't at me for that. That's not what I'm talking about. So that we can find document proof. We could, he exists. And then I was like, well, after a while, we're going out looking for this thing. It's trying to avoid us. We're playing a really fancy game of hide and go seek. Why don't we just sit here in camp and do what humans do? We'll go out during the day and explore and all that, blah, blah, blah. We'll look for signs and stuff. But at night, we'll sit around fire. We'll tell stories. We'll do what humans do. That's more activity that way than going out and looking for them. And one of the guys I really looked up to, Bob, he said, well, think about it. We're their cable TV. Like, valid point.
We're more interesting than TV. Oh, wow.
Well, I mean,
I don't know if I'd be that interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe they're coming in to listen to our stories.
Could be. They don't come in to eat us, though. Most Bigfoot aren't typically aggressive. Most aren't. So, man, if you get you don't need a gun. Use a flashlight. That's your best weapon.
I was chased off from inside the woods by a Bigfoot because some people were actually making calling noises, trying to call Bigfoot. Never told me they were doing this. So I might have heard their calls and freaked out, or I may have heard Bigfoot's initial call and freak out. And usually when I hear Bigfoot or know that Bigfoot is possibly around, I don't want to be in the area. It scares me. But I was chased out the woods because of these guys calling it, and it must have ticked off this Bigfoot because it was looking for a mate, to find out that it was a bunch of idiots calling for it. And I was around.
They never travel alone. They never try. If you see one, there's another one close by. I could go into a whole story. They sent me out when I was just a young investigator. They had this kid who kept, I won't say kid, young guy who kept sending in messages. He was scared to death. There's one in the woods. There's one in the woods. And my mentor said, go check it out. I don't think there's anything to it. So I went down there and we went around and I'm like, yeah, these are some signs and you got this and that. And, it wasn't until about 1 a.m. we're walking through the woods, and these are his woods. He grew up on these woods. He knew these woods like the back of his hand. And I'm like, hear that? And he's like, yeah, it's a bird. And I'm like, it's not a bird. Think about it. That's some awful long calls. That's a big set of lungs. And his eyes got like this big around. And before we could get out of the woods, I managed to get one cornered on the opposite side of a bush from me, literally on the opposite side of a bush. I couldn't see through this bush. That thing went through every bird call I have ever heard in my entire life, from anything down in South America to the hoot owl, until it finally just screamed at me. And I wasn't giving up, and I regret that I wasn't brave enough just to go into the bush, because it literally couldn't have been more than 3 feet away from me. And then one broke a tree behind us and caused us to turn. And as soon as we did, it was gone. And I was so pissed off. So
that's what was happening. That one was trying to make up for the other one about to get caught.
Yep. They cover for each other.
The other one go take off.
Yeah, they cover for each other. And people say I'm crazy, but hey, that's all right. It's my story. I lived it. So you don't then when I started doing the show, everybody's like, well, you're trying to prove Bigfoot exists. After a while, I'm like, no, I don't really have to. I've got the answer to that. I know he exists. So I don't have to prove to anybody. If you want to go find out, go sit out in the woods yourself. You'll be okay.
Yeah.
What to tell Jen, go sit in the woods.
Yeah. before. I lived in the woods. I'm done with the woods.
Wasn't we said in the Appalachia with at night? If you've grown up in the Appalachia, you know not to do out in the woods. You don't go into the woods if something calls your name. If you don't, like he said, maybe it's a call for one. You know, I never thought of that. Now that you said that, whistling at night.
I know growing up, and I was growing up on the acreage, and we kept hearing this sound, and it was like a thump, 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 thump. Somebody was trying to start their tractor, and I kept hearing this, and then I'd hear it again the next year, and then I hear it again the next year. And I finally mentioned, get that tractor started. And my mom said, that's a grouse call. And
to tell everybody, if they want to get in touch with you, how they can, and especially for our Australian audience. And like I said, I will put all this in the note.
Longer to cook up when it comes to novel.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want you to wait a year before coming back on, but we like to have you back on because like we say, it always goes so quick. Everything will be in the show notes. Do you have anything planned coming up in the near future?
The publishing of Jeremy Vinton. I'm going to try and publish one of these longer books I've wanted to write with Jeremy Vinton, who is a monster hunter who was not really a hereditary hunter, who was born into it by the fate, by a family right. I have hereditary hunters, I have freelancers, which is where he is, and then I have the professional agents fire. And he actually ends up killing the goblin in that manner. And so he goes on to become a man at 22 and continues monster hunting almost more as a personal vendetta than a job. He hates everything to do with the supernatural or paranormal. He wants to hunt them all, destroy them all.
Okay. Well, come back and visit us and you can tell us all about it. So
you and I can arrange it within Messenger.
There you go. You know how to get
Sounds
me.
Good.
DB, thanks for coming on. I appreciate your time tonight.
Thank you for having me tonight.
It was a pleasure. We'll see you soon. Have a good night. Thanks.
Good night.
Bye. It goes so quick. Let me move that up there. It goes so quick.
Yeah. I was entranced. I was like, wow, some of those, he's done his research.
Oh gosh. Yeah. Yeah, he goes into some of the details and I'm like, wow, how does he come up with some of this stuff? It's so good. So,
I didn't even know where to look for half the stuff that he was talking about. I was like, wow, how'd you find out where to look for that?
The internet. That's where everything is. So.
I know it's not as easy to navigate though as people think sometimes.
We're running out of time, Jen. Where can anybody find your stuff? Because I know you have some good stuff going on here recently.
Yeah, so best place to start is my website at jmshawauthor.com. You can read about my books. You can find the links to them online. You can find links to my Facebook and Instagram on the bottom. And then there's also a link to Goodreads so you can see what other people are saying about them.
All right. Sounds good. All right. Well, I will be back tomorrow, noon until 2, spinning records. You can find me on the Thin Line Rock Station, www.thinlinerockstation.com. And of course, Brenda and I will be back telling all the news that's probably not fit to print from 2 until 4 tomorrow. So make sure to check us out over there. Please, on your way out the door, hit the like